Coming up.
When I put that in my freezer and tasted that beef, the rest is history. Even with the higher cost, there's still good margins in Wagyu beef, whether it be F1 or full blood. I love this Wagyu breed.
Hear the story of how one family in Texas bet their future on Wagyu cattle. Next on The American Rancher. Hello and welcome to The American Rancher. I'm Pam Minnick. After arriving from Japan in 1976, the Wagyu breed set out to establish a foothold in the American beef industry. Today, the breed has carved out an impressive niche with farm-to-table branded beef programs and high-end restaurants because of its unmatched quality. And with the recent emphasis by American breeders to improve EPD and performance data tracking, ranchers like Marvin Garret have even more reasons to stake the future of their operation on Wagyu genetics.
I grew up on a rice farm in South Louisiana, helped my grandfather on his farm, harvesting rice and taking care of his Angus cattle. All I knew was Angus. I'm an engineer. Worked my whole career as an engineer. Love the outdoors, love animals. In preparing for retirement about 12 years ago, I started buying property out here around the Sulphur Springs area. I bought some Angus bred heifers. They calved out, didn't have a bull. Started asking around, can I AI? I didn't know anything about that. Champion Genetics helped me get some semen. Itoshika Fuji TF147. The reason I landed on Wagyu is I'd heard that it produced better quality beef, better marbling, more tender. But this was 10, 12 years ago. The Wagyu breed wasn't well known here in the United States. And I'm a risk taker. I said, okay, why not? Why not give it a try? What drove me to the Wagyu breed was this bull. This is a straw from Itoshika Fuji TF147. He's the one I bred to my Angus cows, my original group that I bought. When I put that in my freezer and tasted that beef from an F1 TF147, the rest is history. And I love that breed. I think it's the future here in the U.S. and it's growing every day. Started acquiring animals from around the country, from different seed stock producers, and we've amassed a pretty good herd of Wagyu cattle, bulls, cows, and we also have an Angus herd. We breed to nothing but our Wagyu bulls for our meat production. 3 or 4 years ago, we were harvesting about 8 to 10 animals a year. Predominantly selling to individuals, and then word of mouth, they pass it on to someone else. We get some new clients. We've got it up to about 17 whole animals that we were selling to families, basically. We harvested 37 animals in 2020. That was when COVID hit. Actually, COVID helped us out. We started selling online. And then in 2021, we grew our market to 57 animals, and in this year, 2022, we're on target to probably harvest and sell retail beef, as well as some wholesale to a few places, a couple of country clubs, and we're probably going to harvest about 75 to 80 this year. Plenty of room to grow. We could buy more Angus mamas or Angus heifers, which I've just purchased 30 here earlier this year to grow the Angus herd for our F1 Angus with my Wagyu bulls, and that's predominantly the beef that we sell, both online and in the storefront. As we continue to grow our market, get our brand known, we have the potential to harvest 200 plus animals.
After the break,
since we started in 2020 and now we're halfway into 2022, I'd say we've doubled our business.
see how G5 Cattle Company's future just got brighter. That story is next here on The American Rancher. Welcome back to The American Rancher. G5 Cattle Company is a Wagyu-based cattle ranch just outside Sulphur Springs, Texas. 2 years ago, the family decided to launch a Wagyu-based farm-to-table beef market, and the demand has exceeded their expectations.
2020, my sister and I built this website to start shipping. Started with just Texas and then added Louisiana, added a few states here and there, and then kind of went national. During COVID, we really kind of boomed. People needed beef. We were able to get our name out there, did some deliveries in Dallas, and made some pretty good headway. And so that was rocking and rolling. My sister's a photographer. She does beautiful work, so we were really fortunate there. She took all of our pictures and made our website just beautiful. And we started in actually his shop out at the farm. And we were shipping out of there, and as that grew, we needed a little bit bigger facility. And so we're right here on 30 on the frontage road. So we built this place. We weren't really sure how that was gonna work out. It's been awesome with the help of my sister and pulling all my family members together. My kiddos come out and they help me. We decorated this place and got it up and running as a real meat market.
Being centrally located, G5 ships Wagyu beef from North Texas to most locations in the continental U.S.
We have our ground zone, which won't be any more than 2-day shipping. So anybody outside of a 2-day ground area is our 2-day air. All of these will arrive to our customers 2 days after we ship. This one's going to Everett, Washington. They ordered Wagyu bacon, 4 flat irons, a couple of pounds of ground beef, and some 100% full blood New York strips. Since we started in 2020 and now we're halfway into 2022, I'd say we've doubled our business. Our customers love the specialty things. Beef bacon is one of our big, huge sellers. We do it from the short rib, smoked just like bacon, very similar to pork bacon, but it's beef, and it's delicious. A lot of the grilling cuts are picanhas and our tri-tips and things like that, ribeyes, and of course the prime steaks. People love the prime steaks, but the ground beef. People won't go back to grocery store ground beef once they've tried our Wagyu ground beef, because it makes a difference in your meals and in your cooking. We've got our ribeye that we cut with spinalis on the top. This is our king. Everybody loves the ribeye. This is #1 seller. People come in, go straight to the ribeye box and grab. We sell out in a week or so when we get them in. They like to throw these on the smoke them, cook them all day long, so they like them thick as possible. We've got a couple of them. It's got the bone in. We cut the bone tail pretty short, but it's a bone-in ribeye is what a cowboy ribeye is. We've got a tri-tip, which is marbled's awesome. Really popular in California, and it's made its way to Texas quickly. they fly off the shelf. And then we've got my dad's favorite cut, which he raves about. He makes me go back to these pictures every time. It's a picanha, or a sirloin cap. So we've got a Denver steak, cut from the chuck, but it's got a lot of flavor. It's the most marbled cut we've got. I mean, you can see kind of the checkerboard marbling pattern in there, and oh my gosh, it just like butter. It's delicious. And it's really a little known cut. Not very many people have heard of it, and it's a real shame because it is phenomenal. If I'm gonna pick a steak, I'm picking a Denver. One of the ways we get our brand name out there, and actually people have asked for t-shirts and hats, so we've added those things. We think it's pretty cool when our customers wear our stuff and show us around town. When Dad started raising Wagyu cattle, I'd say 1 in 20 people knew what Wagyu was. And that was 6-7 years ago, so really not that long ago. When we started shipping, 1 in 5, 1 in 6, something like that. And now everybody knows what Wagyu is. We believe it's the future. Just from the notoriety, restaurants are picking it up. Arby's has a Wagyu hamburger. The information about the breed is really getting out there and how wonderful the meat is. The intermuscular fat of it is just not comparable to anything else. So I think there's a lot of room for the industry to grow because I think people want it. I think the demand is there and it's growing every day. You know, and we need more ranchers to get involved so we can really have a presence in the United States of the Wagyu breed and the Wagyu meat.
G5 Wagyu is part of a growing national market for high-quality Wagyu beef. And seed stock producers like the Garret family recognize that the Wagyu breed is just getting started here in America.
I think the sky's the limit for us. Our family makes a great team. We've got a lot of different personalities coming together. It's still family run. My dad and I make business decisions together. He mostly does the ranch and I do the retail. But we've really tried to grow a team of people, and we've got some great guys on the ranch. 2 great girls here that I absolutely love, and they have really helped us market. I would love to see G5 franchises. I'd love for people to say, hey, that's G5 meat, that's awesome. We see growth, we know our goals in the future, we can see those goals, and it's just a matter of time.
Up next.
Even with the higher cost, there's still good margins in Wagyu beef, whether it be F1 or full-blood.
Marvin explains why you should also consider a future with G5 Wagyu genetics. That's next, here on The American Rancher. Welcome back to The American Rancher. With the future of Wagyu cattle secured in the American beef industry, ranchers like Marvin Garret have staked the future of their operations on the breed. And with EPD and performance data collection becoming more robust, the breed's popularity will only grow stronger. Now is the time for you to get in on the action.
I'm an engineer, big on data. I like to not only like numbers, but I like to see what I'm doing. So when I started out, this is over a couple of years, I would take my cell phone and I'd cut every carcass. I'd have the butcher cut between the 12th and 13th rib, which is where you grade these carcasses, and I just took a picture. I have data on days on feed, live weight, hot weight, whether it's a steer or a heifer, the ear tag, and the sire and the dam of each one of these carcasses. And I did that until about a year ago. What I did is I purchased me a Meat Imaging Japan carcass camera, and now I get data that actually tells me something, and I still keep the same type of data, but I use this camera right here with this rectangle, still cut it between the 12th and 13th rib. This camera has a light lens on it, or a light on it, and I take that and lay it over that ribeye area between the 12th and 13th rib, take a picture, upload that picture to the cloud. Japan has some software that then takes that picture that I've taken, and within 20 seconds after I upload it, I have all the information about that animal. The marble percentage is 27.75. The marble fineness is a 50, which is really good. Ribeye area is almost 14, which is a good size ribeye. And then the marble score, which is one of the most important, is an 8.19. And I have this on every animal for over a year now. And I keep track of what sire each animal came from so that I can determine which bulls are producing the better carcasses, whether it be a marble score, marble fineness, ribeye area. We have to have hard data. There's other numbers and data out there, EPDs, EBVs, and so on and so forth. Those are calculated, which are good and important to use. This is the real data. This is the important stuff. The Wagyu breed, I believe it's still in its infancy here in the United States, but more and more data is being collected like this. This is individual data for me and my cattle, but the Australian Wagyu Association is well ahead of us on EBVs, And so consequently, what I've done is I'm in the process of getting my Wagyu cattle dual registered, both here in the U.S. and in Australia. The data that Australia has, they have put more data into their cattle than we have in the United States. And we're starting to do that, and I want to do that for the American Wagyu Association by this data tied to an animal that I have actually sire verified who that sire was. And that's the next step that I'm going to take to contribute to the AWA Association.
So the Wagyu breed, much like any other breed in the United States, for the longest time had no data. EPDs were developed and began being used more heavily in the United States with other breeds in the early 80s and even more heavily in the 90s. As Wagyu cattle came in, the data was not kept and the cattle were specifically bred for marbling. And so prediction models were didn't really get incorporated in the United States or in the Wagyu breed in general until recently, say early 2000s. Currently, our most accurate prediction models are generated by the ABRA, which is what the Australian Wagyu breed uses to calculate EBVs, and that means estimated breeding value. And in the United States, we're more used to using EPDs, which is expected progeny difference. And basically, an EPD is 1/2 of an EBV.
Quality of the beef is the best on the planet, in my opinion. Consequently, calves that I produce, that I sell, commands a premium. They'll also pay me a premium for my fats. Although I don't sell many fats because we need it for our meat business. I have some great bulls. They've seen the calves out of that, and there's a pretty good market for Wagyu bulls. We've grown our customer base. I don't have any concerns about selling cattle, but we also have a meat business. We got a storefront and we got an online website. We're growing that market because of the quality and the people that want quality. We're getting a premium for our beef, whether it be a ribeye or a flat iron steak or ground beef. Once people taste it, and there are more and more people in the United States that are understanding the quality of the Wagyu breed and our beef as well, they keep coming back. And we haven't raised prices since we started the online website, which was a little over 2 years ago, until this week. And we finally, we're having to, because the challenge that we have today with fuel prices, with feed cost, fertilizer cost, even with the higher cost, there's still good margins in Wagyu beef, whether it be F1 or full blood. We will be working on how do we become more efficient with feeding out our cattle, lower cost and so on and so forth, but it's still good margins for high quality beef. I love this Wagyu breed. For a whole host of reasons. Number one, they're as docile an animal as is out there. They're not difficult to raise. They're very calm. The calves are smaller, which is a good thing. There's another movement that's going on where people want to know where their beef comes from, how it was raised. So farm to table is becoming more and more popular, especially with the younger generation. They are very particular about where their food comes from here in the United States over the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, but particularly once COVID hit. But now we're seeing more and more people coming to us. We could sell every fat we have to families, but we need it for our retail beef business. So I've said it before, I love this breed. I think it is the future. I love what I'm doing, and frankly, I'm living my dream, trying to produce the best quality beef I can, and with cattle that are in the best condition that I can possibly keep them. So our first production sale is Labor Day weekend. The day is September 3rd.
We'll be selling 75 lots of Wagyu cattle that will include 50 lots of females. Primarily those will be right out of Marvin's black Wagyu herd, but will also include the remainder of the Akaushi cattle that he has for sale, as he's going to focus primarily on the black genetics. And there'll be roughly 25 bulls that will include a couple of proven red Wagyu as well as proven black Wagyu bulls, and some younger bulls that are ready for turnout right now. And we hope you'll all make it. We'll have an outstanding lunch for you. The sale's gonna start at 1 o'clock. If you can't be in Sulphur Springs on sale day or the day before, we urge you to look for it on liveauctions.tv, powered by Superior.
For more information on the 2022 G5 Wagyu production sale, log on to g5cattle.com. And to find out more about us, visit our website, theamericanrancher.com, or connect with us on Facebook. I'm Pam Minnick for our entire American Rancher team. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.